I want to kind of look at to get Nish on board to explain us on the second pillar, which is his favorite topic on product mindset.
Absolutely. Thanks, Suresh. So I think this segues nicely into, we've talked about composable architecture, but to really take advantage of that requires nothing less than, not just a mindset shift, almost a cultural shift, right? So if you think about banks, traditionally, and this has been the case for decades, everything in a bank is a project, right? And it starts with, the bank has to tell the shareholders what they're doing every year and publish their plans in their annual report. They have to tell the regulator, what their commitments are in terms of meeting certain compliance mandates. So outwardly, banks have to be very planned. They have to really, think ahead. They have to stick to their commitments. So there's no getting away from that. That's not going to change anytime soon. However, what it does mean is that typically that sort of fixed kind of planning horizon, it ends up kind of translating internally into these very tightly planned, very tightly controlled projects. And there is a place in the world for tightly planned, tightly controlled projects when you need that certainty. However, there's a lot of things that banks are doing these days which are, highly experiential, highly customer focused, highly, dynamic. You're competing with the Googles and the Apples and the Spotifys and all these kind of sort of experiences that customers can get. And to take that traditional project mindset forward really cripples the ability for a bank to digitally innovate and achieve that agility. No matter how good your composable architecture is, no matter how smart your people are, the move away from a fixed project focus into a product mindset is really crucial to unlocking that agility. So what does that look like? If you look at your typical project, and I'm sure everyone who's joined the call or who listens to this recording afterward will be nodding their heads going, yes, when I work on projects in a bank, it looks something like this, right? We initiate the project. So there's a sponsor, there's a business need, there's a set of scope and benefits that they tend to get worked out. So great, we kick it off. Then we go into this protracted planning and design phase, right? So there's weeks, months. Sometimes I've worked on a project which was in design for over 12 months, where you have to plan everything meticulously. You have to understand your scope. You have to come up with an end-to-end schedule. You have to communicate your milestones. You set your budgets. You make your commitments, and then that goes up through various steering committees and approval forums and gets green lit. And at this point, you're really well planned, right? Everyone understands the impacts. Everyone understands the dependencies, and you go into that build and that implement and the close phase. Now, at this point, the first time usually that your customer gets to see and touch and feel and use the product or service that you've designed is when you implement, right? And the typical timeline for any kind of medium-sized, average-sized project in a reasonably sized bank is going to be minimum 3 to 6 months, much more likely 9 to 12. And of course, for large programs of work, you're going into multi-year transformation programs, right? So if you want the certainty, great. If you want to, predict upfront, great. If you want to meet the emerging and growing needs of your customers, not so great, right? What banks are transitioning to, and the really successful ones that are kind of at the forefront of that customer experience and digital innovation, have moved to the right. They've moved to a product focus. Instead of putting the business case at the heart of what they do, they put the customer at the heart of what they do. Instead of a linear, extended, end-to-end, very fixed, process. Let's face it, right? A project is a gigantic process. They go into these cycles, right, where the overarching goal is get something out there into the hands of the customer and get that feedback. That's the thing that drives these product-centric organizations. That's what makes them get out of bed in the morning. It's like, if I've worked on something, I want to show it to someone. I want a customer to use it. Even if it's not complete, I need that feedback. I want to make it better. I want to make sure when we do a mass launch, that it's going to delight the customer, right? So that's where you go into these agile cycles, right? You do your research, you do some level of planning, of course, right? You need a plan, but deliver something, right? Deliver something in a small increment. Get that feedback. The feedback is critical. Improve on it, right? Before you do the next thing. So, if you look at a few measures across culture, team, focus, lifespan, delivery, there are differences, right? In a project-focused organization, you will aim to meet your budget and schedule above all else, right? Even above, delighting the customer. Your team will be this complex matrix team with lots of handoffs. You'll have disconnected governance, different layers of governance. Your focus will be on that business case. The project will be short-lived. It'll come, it'll go, right? It doesn't last. It's not a persistent thing. And lastly, your delivery style is very waterfall. It's very has a lot of heavy upfront planning. Whereas once you make that leap into a product focus mindset, everyone in the team, regardless of what role you're working on, your goal is to make that customer really happy. Your team starts to look more like a cross-functional and empowered team. They're not made up of these dotted lines into other parts of the business and a group of people that have temporarily come together. This is a team that has all the skills, the resources, the know-how to build something of value. And of course, that focus is on the customer. And the lifespan starts to become enduring and persistent. That team can bed down, they can build their velocity, they can get efficient, they can continuously improve. And the delivery, of course, then starts to look more like agile, more like iterative delivery, right? So these are, really, really critical elements to unlock digital agility.
Yeah, I think it's a great way that you put it across. When we move, organizations have to move from a project mindset to a product mindset. And it actually gives you a couple of things which are very important. The first one is about products are long lived as opposed to projects, right? So that's one other part is you are continuously invested to create that experience, right? What is good so far is not good tomorrow, right? You have to continuously evolve the quotient of value, right? So that's one part of it. The second part is around what you rightly mentioned, Nish, is about self-organizing teams, right? So as a hallmark of high-performing organizations, as we look at it, Daniel Pink says three things, right? One is a stronger purpose, right? Why are we doing this at the first place? The second one is mastery of skills, right? You have the right level of skills in terms of cross-functional skills, right? It's not about taking about your I-shaped profile. You're talking about T-shaped to pie-shaped to comb-shaped profile, so which have cross-functional skills part of it. And then the autonomy part. Because when you are self-organized with the level of mastery of skills with purpose, you will be a unstoppable team. And that requires us to make that continuous effort to make things work. And that's the part of why we are strongly emphasizing on design thinking and approaches.